Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Local Influencers Podcast. I'm Abel, your host, and today I am joined by my guest co-host Shaniva, aka Jen, and we are here with the lovely owner of a new shop that everyone is talking about called Commons, and it is your name pronounced Ceirra? I wanted to ask you before. Is it Ceirra?
Yeah, Ceirra,
Okay.
Ceirra, yeah.
So Ceirra is the owner of Commons, and I whenever opening week, I think opening weekend was 2 weeks ago,
Yes, yeah, 2 weeks
as
ago.
as of as of the recording of this, and we are recording this like in March, so you guys are hearing it much later. Um, you've probably been there by now because it was all over Instagram, it was all over social media, and that's how it caught my attention. And I was like, well, damn, I'm gonna go and check this out too. Like, what is this place called Commons? Like, what do they have? And walked in, and the aesthetic was so cool. It was a very, it's like a very what's the word, like a minimal aesthetic. Like, it's not a lot of clutter everywhere. It's very organized, very like high fashion boutique, like very, oh, I'm sorry, we only have one of those, and if you don't want it, if you don't get it, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
It's very,
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Same.
And I think
Yes.
that causes a lot of like, that causes, I think, a lot of people to want to go there and want to grab things, because it's like, if you don't grab it now, it's not going to be there later. Like, I don't have 10 of these in the back, girl. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, you kind of see everything.
yeah, and so can we just start off with, how did you come up with the name Commons, and what went into the thought process of, you know what, I'm ready to open up a brick and mortar store?
Yeah, so a lot. So I was working as a barista at a local coffee shop, and I knew that I wanted to do my own thing for a while. And kind of in that, I knew that when I moved to Corpus a couple years ago, I bought a house. And the hardest part for me was that, like, there's not a lot of like specialty boutiques in Corpus. There's a few, and I'm just like not good at thrifting. Like, it's harder for me to find. Like, I don't have the eye for thrifting. I kind of need someone to tell me like this is nice, but I know something nice when I like see it. Most of the time. And so I knew that I wanted to like do my own thing, and I knew that like when I moved to Corpus, it was really hard for me to find like the products I was using while I was living in Austin, and also just like a space that like had like very unique small quantity of like products for your home, and sometimes even just for like as gift items. And so that's kind of what drew me into like opening this type of store, of like a home goods store with some like gift type of items. And the name Commons came from, I was kicking around another name. It was called like All Good Things, and I was telling my roommate that, and she was like, "Don't do that. That's awful. It's just
That's a
cheesy."
good friend. That's a good friend.
she, my roommate is like one of the best types of people. She was like, "It's cheesy. It's not you. It sounds like cheap, and like you're not a cheap girl. You're not like that. Like, if what you're
It doesn't
wanting
represent
to
you.
say." Yeah, and so she was just like, if what you're wanting to say, you have good things, like figure out something else and figure out like your mission and let the name come from that. And so I listened to her, and what I wanted the mission for my store to be is like not only a space that's bringing in good products, but also a space that was like for Corpus and for like locals who are creating like really cool like stuff, and like a space that like I can like buy from them wholesale, because as a barista I can never make it to like pop-ups and stuff like that because I'm busy pouring lattes. And so kind of from there I was just like googling names like Union and like stuff like that, and the word Commonwealth came up. Someone owns that name, owns Commonwealth, and it's not necessarily a Commonwealth, but I like the idea of commons. And my granddaddy, he was a man who owned a bunch of different businesses, a very country man, lived out in like podunk nowhere. Um, and he was just like your common man. And so between those two ideas, commons was just like born out of nothing.
That's awesome. I like the name Commons also because when we were in the shop, we talked about maybe collaborating and using the space as for like events in the future. And I liked it
Yeah.
because it's also like, it could also be like commons for, as in a common space for everyone. Like, it's a, You know what I mean? Like Commons
Yeah.
is a place for everyone. And so whenever I knew the name because I was going there, and then whenever we talked in the store, and y'all mentioned like, hey, maybe we can, if y'all want to have something here, and I was like, this is cool. It's like a common space for people and
Yeah.
people of the city, so that all kind of put together. And
Yeah.
also,
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, and I love that you said that because that is like a big piece of it. Is like I want it to feel like a common space of like it's like, yeah, my name is on the lease, but like if you are someone who is just like, it was so hard to find that space. Like it's so ridiculously hard in Corpus to find a space to do anything. And I'm lucky enough that I like fell upwards in the sense of I know people who were able to like make people call me back. And I know people who were like able to like make people like take me seriously. And I know that that's not necessarily for like everyone's case. And so I want it to be a space that's like, yeah, like if you want to hold like if let's collaborate and let's figure out something and let's like make like this space that's mine now ours for the evening or for like a few evenings. Um so that like we can continue like I can help you push your vision along because that's like the hope for my space for me.
It's awesome, and hopefully by the time this episode comes out, because this episode will not air till like late, like towards the summertime almost, because we're so
Yeah.
far booked ahead. Um, hopefully by the time this it airs, it's a little bit safer, especially with all the vaccinations coming out. Hopefully it's a little
Yeah.
bit safer where we'll be when this episode comes out, we'll be able to announce something maybe together, our very first
Hopefully.
kind of collab type of thing. So you heard it here
I would
first,
love
guys. Heard it here first.
it.
You got the exclusive tea before anybody else, guys. So comments when the pieces that you have in your shop, like you said, you don't have the eye for thrifting. I do not either. I have interviewed quite a few people that own thrift shops, and
Hmm.
me and Geneva and I went into that same weekend. We went into 2020 vintage downtown, and it was all I saw was a bunch of like really cool knickknacks and garment pieces, and but I if I saw all of that in a bigger space in a bigger shop somewhere, I wouldn't have been able to pick those out to put in my store. Like
Yeah.
how do you have the eye for those things that were in your shop? Because the stuff in your shop, I noticed, like I said, it had a very like it's like a very minimal design. I loved the aesthetic of it, of your shop.
Hmm.
It's kind
Thank
of
you.
like
Yeah.
the natural. It was like very natural and what is that? It's not farmhouse, but like the woodsy type, kind of just like natural earthy tones.
Yeah. Earth sounds.
There we
Yeah.
go, earth tones. Like, and so, what makes you pick out like, okay, this piece is gonna? I think this piece will do well in my shop. What goes through your process for that?
So really, it's like what would look good in my house. My house is like truly painted like four different shades of white in different rooms. So and like earth tones are, and all my blinds are like brown, and um, I enjoy kind of the aesthetic, I guess that's the word, of like the beach at sunset. And so it's like very, I don't want to say clean, but very like earthy, very, very much like that. And so I kind of, when I'm picking out pieces for commons, a lot of what I'm thinking about is like what would look good in my house? Like where would I put this in my house if I'm picking out something that's on my like apothecary shelf? It's like do I actually use it? Some of the stuff I don't use anymore, or I have you, and but I have used it. And it's also like, do I trust it? Is it sustainable? Is it helpful? Like, is this going to be doing more harm by me purchasing it from people than it will? And so those are kind of how I run things through. Of like, is it helping the earth or harming the earth and its people? And like for the pieces that are um, for the home for your home are like would I buy this? Like is this of quality? Is this beautiful? Is this something that I like either have in my house or is this something that I would want in my house? And that's kind of how I do it because I like you when I walk into vintage stores I'm like I have no idea how you saw this. I can't even go to estate sales because I'm like I
It's like
just see someone's
overwhelming.
home.
It's
Yeah, like I'm
overwhelming
like
for me.
yeah, I see it and I'm like what? But when I'm browsing through wholesale catalogs and when I'm talking to like people that I'm purchasing from wholesale, it comes down to like, do I want this? And would I gravitate towards this in a store? Um, because I can, that for me is easier.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because it's gonna help. Everything in your shop seems real streamlined, and like it all kind of flows, even though it might be coming from several different areas. And I completely agree with Abel. Like when I went in, it was so open and like just clean, and I'm like, ooh, like I don't feel distracted by so many other things.
Yeah, thank you. And that's kind of the hope, is that like when you're looking at the shelf, like these are things that will go either like in your on your shelf and on your bathroom or on your bedside table if it's the quickie kit. And like things like that where it's like they're just fun to have and they're good to have. Like who can be mad about having two condoms and lube on their bedside table that are like good for them and good for like their partners? So
It's really cool because it's like I was thinking it's like the opposite of IKEA, kind of. I don't know if anyone listeners have been to IKEA, but IKEA, like I love IKEA. I'll be in there for you put me in there, I'll be in there for 8 hours. But it's
yeah.
so overwhelming because they put a like they build rooms basically, and you can buy everything in that display, and it's just like so much stuff, and it's like my brain can't handle it, and then my adrenaline starts rushing, and then I'm like, okay, just give me everything because I don't know what to buy. And where at your shop, it's like the flow is good. The way you have your fixtures set up, everything was very just. I was impressed, and I can see
Thank
why
you.
you guys opening weekend had a lot, and I wasn't exaggerating. That's why I went, because it was a lot of hype. It was a lot of all over Instagram people were Instagram storing it like crazy. When we were walking in, a whole family, there's like four, it was like four girls, and I guess their dad maybe walking out with bags of like a bag of stuff, and I'm like, okay, like this is gonna be here hopefully for a while. um what so I like that you were, like you said, you were a barista, and here you are now a small business owner, um locally owned, its own locally owned shop. Did you have to like save up for this? And if you went through a loan, you don't have to disclose any of that, but like, did you have to put any like a business proposal together? What was that process? Because for a lot of people, you know baristas listening, they don't want to, some of them, they do want to be baristas forever because they love it, that's what they're calling. But for the people that are just kind of using that as a temporary type of thing, what words of encouragement would you tell them, and what was your process of transitioning from barista to small business owner?
Yeah. So, full disclosure, before I was a barista, I had a full-time job with a nonprofit that I worked with for 5 years, and I had paid into my 401k. So I did the one thing that you're not supposed to do, and I pulled every dollar that they let me pull out of my 401k out of it. And mostly because I was at a coffee shop that was affected by COVID. We shut down. I didn't have money coming in, and so my only option to like pay my bills was to pull all of my money. And kind of as we opened back up and I was able to like make ends meet, I put a good amount from my 401k towards commons, and I did like have to just get a business loan. Really, it wasn't even a business loan. I Opening a small business in Corona is not a um very exciting thing to any bank at all. So I actually like this is all my own money. I have a personal loan with like not Common's name on it, but like the name of like Ceirra's name on it. And I just like dived straight in, which is probably the worst business advice. If someone who like understands business is listening, I promise they're like cringing.
But
Because
if you believe so much in
yeah,
your idea, you basically bootstrapped it. Like,
yeah,
you
I actually
believed in
literally
it.
bootstrapped it. And I'm not from like a wealthy family that can like come in behind me and could have written me a check. My parents both work. My are well past retiring age, and they both work. And so but I know that like this is what I want to do, and the idea of failure doesn't outweigh the like thrill of just trying. And so I have been telling people like this is my love letter to Corpus in the cheesiest of ways because I am pretty cheesy. And if it fails, it fails, and debt is a thing that people work out their way out of somehow, and I'll figure that out. But I like bootstrapped it together and like put my money where my mouth is because I believe in Corpus. I love Corpus, like downtown. I actually believe that like Corpus has everything this like a city needs to be listed with Austin and Houston and Dallas. And it's just that people leave to where they feel like more secure to like try their ideas, and I just wanted to like try it here instead of going back home to Austin. So that's kind of the like how I did it. I'm not a business major. I don't understand any of those things. So I um asked a lot of questions. I have a friend who is pretty well connected with a lot of like small businesses. He owns Lucy's, and he built out Lucy's, and he built out Eleanor's, and he built out Anthropologies, which like puts him on the like the path of people who like are opening stores. And so he connected me with some people to like ask questions and answer things. I did a lot of like late night just Googling. Like I would be at the coffee shop I was working at, just Googling like how to start a business, how to do these things, how to even pay myself. How can a small business have benefits? Because when I want to hire someone, I want to hire and make sure like I'm able to like pay into their 401k, and that they're able like I'm able to provide like paternity leave so that like no matter who I hire, they can go and leave. Like I like want
Well,
to
you
set
looked
up a
really into the future, girl. That's
yeah, like
like
I
you
was
did.
like
That's good.
I like want to make sure that if I hire someone, I'm taking care of them to the fullest, and that like if you're so like Corpus, it's so funny that like you can have a retail job in other cities and make it and like make ends meet and like be financially stable and even be like a barista. Like I have friends who are 30 in Austin who are baristas making it, and like in Corpus, it's kind of seen as this like entry level 16-year-old job, and I want to make sure Commons is a space for like both people. Like if someone 16-year-old wants to work here, fine, that's cool. Like see if retail's what you want, and if retail's something you want and you want to help like run a retail shop and I end up hiring you, I want to make sure I'm able to like take care of you for like if your family grows, if that's what you want, or like pay into sick leave, pay into PTO, those sort of things. Just because I do feel like if Commons is a love letter to the city, I have to take care of whoever I employ the same way that like I want to take care of the people I'm wholesaling from in the city so that they can like this money can stay in Corpus and that Corpus can continue to grow and like be the city that like I think it is. Because it's like really cool. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
so awesome because you're really doing it's really two things in one. So you have all these goals for your business, but at the same time, it's really going to serve a purpose to show other small businesses that like, hey, like y'all can do it too. Like, let's care for ourselves,
Yeah.
for our employees, because there's definitely a need in Corpus.
Yeah. And I think as like I am no way saying that I have answers and I know how to do this. I truly don't. But I do think that like I've been able to ask a lot of small businesses in Corpus how they're doing things, and like I wish universal healthcare was a thing. Not getting political though, but I wish I could just like have healthcare. We're all in a pandemic. But also if I could figure out how to like add in healthcare and like share it with my friends who are business owners, or they figure it out before I do and they can share it with me. Like I think that that will change how many small businesses are in Corpus and are able to open, just because I feel like that's a big roadblock is like I can't get sick because one, I'm the only employee, and two, also I'm just like uninsured. So um, I'm just trying to like make the world that I hope that one day the future is living in.
yeah, and obviously, like you said, I admire you because I'm a serial like entrepreneur. Like I always have mine is mainly like online type of things. I'm very into tech, and I own like 200 domains, and I do like all kinds of websites, and I'm addicted to podcasts and podcasting. I'm opening like new shows like crazy all the time. And I think I finally have a grip on like what I want to do with the podcasting thing. But I'm a serial entrepreneur, whereas to the point that I have also recently been thinking about wanting to become my own boss. And I work in retail. I'm a manager in retail.
Mm.
Um, and I have a lot of retail experience, and I've been a manager in retail for over 10 years. So I've been thinking like I could manage my own shop if I owned my own shop. And I told my mom, because she's retired and she's stay-at-home mom now. And I was telling her like, why don't we open up, like those UPS drop-off places, like they're like mail, look, we have one called Mail Plus here. And they just sell like
Yeah.
little knickknacks, and it's a UPS drop-off, and you can have a PO box there. I'm like, why don't we do that? And I'm addicted to Funko Pops, by the way. Like behind this little black veil, I have thousands of them. And I was like, I could sell, like my nick you could sell your knickknacks, I could sell Funko Pops, we can offer like UPS drop off, and just have like a little shop and own it ourselves and be our own bosses. And I just haven't made that leap that you did. I haven't started the research. I haven't. So I admire you for that, because
Thank you.
that, and then you looked even further ahead as to like, how am I going to pay employees? And I wouldn't have even thought of employees yet. It was just me and my mom. Like, you know what I mean? So you looked even further ahead, talking about like 401ks. And I'm like, dang, girl, like that's good. So a lot of people, I don't think when they're opening their small business that they think about that, because when you're opening it's real life. Like if we have any young listeners, after the certain age, mommy and daddy can't have you on their insurance, guys. And then there's all of this sudden that you're thrown into the real world, and they're like, good luck. Literally, I think it's like 25, right? I think it's 25th
Yeah.
birthday. On
Yeah.
your 25th birthday, guys, insurance says bye, and they push you into the middle of the road. Like, good luck. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's you know what I mean? And so you need insurance. And so, kudos to you for thinking about your future employees already. And I think that because of all that research you've done, and because of all that, you know, I could tell you just you care. I think that you'll be successful, and
Thank
um
you.
you'll just grow, especially that you're open to collaborating. And also right now downtown has the downtown organization. I'm trying to get their
Mm.
director on for downtown Corpus Christi. I'm trying to get the
Yeah.
director on the podcast as well. So I think that now that we have like this organization trying to revitalize it, and all these little thrift shops and pop-ups, like these little markets that we're having downtown now, I really feel like it's starting to kind of come along, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the funny thing is that you say is people, Corpus could be like Austin, San Antonio, Houston. They say that Corpus is 5 years behind the major cities. And what's funny is San Antonio recently, have y'all heard of that app called Clubhouse?
No.
Yes. It's the
Okay.
like the one you just talking to. Celebrities are
And,
all in.
and it's like you're basically like live, you go live, and you can invite everyone. And the thing is, to get into the app, you have to be invited by a member of Clubhouse. And each
Hmm.
member only has certain amount of invites. Well, that app was developed in San Antonio by a San Antonio resident. And so they used to say Austin was the tech hub of Texas. And now look at it, it's moved further south. San Antonio has one of the most popular apps based out of San Antonio, which is like an hour and a half from here. So
Yeah.
I see all of that kind of transitioning towards us, and I see big things happening for us. And so I say all that being long-winded, you've already looked into the future of insurance and 401k and all that. Have you thought about, like you have Commons, Corpus Christi? Have you thought like, man, like big dreams, like 10 years, 5 years from now, like Commons, San Antonio, Commons, Austin, Commons? Is that something that you'd be interested in if, everything was in the right place? Like, let's say you're successful and everything's going right. Do you see something like that?
Yeah. I would, only because I'm constantly trying to rope my siblings into like working with me and or for me. So I wherever I've talked to my brother, wherever he and his family end up, I kind of want him to like he has a lot of retail experience, um and it just would just be amazing at running his own thing. And so wherever he plants his roots, I would love for like him and his like be able to like run the space. And then I would love to keep Commons like Corpus, like a hub in Corpus, and not just be like always here. This is like my baby, always taken care of. Because I would love to be in Corpus for as long as Corpus is good to me, I guess. And so, but I like at Tops, I've kind of dreamt about like, what if I did something like a tiny hole in the wall that was just stuffed to the gills in New York, and like really like to try to like really do some real high end stuff in there, and then something like out in like Austin, just because that's right now where my brother is at, and my whole family is there, so I could see them more. um and then something in San Antonio as well, just because that's like I love San Antonio. I think it's just like one of the coolest places to be right now. And so that's kind of where I would consider it if things were to change. But I would never want it to go super like hundreds of them, at most maybe 4, because I think that I could like split my time between 4 shops evenly. Um, and I don't know if I mentioned this, I'm not the best at math. Math isn't my strong suit. I shouldn't be running a retail shop. It's all math. But
It's
I could
funny.
divide by 4 easily.
That's funny because Geneva specializes in math. She's like,
Well, help me.
she has
teacher.
like, don't you have like a master's degree in math, like, or something?
Yes,
Like,
one of my degrees is in education with my specialization in secondary math.
that's
Wow,
disgusting.
okay.
That is disgusting.
Stop.
I need you to know my
Disgusting.
chest got so tight, and I'm now nervous that I can't do math.
It's
So
okay. I'll help you. If you have questions, I'll help you.
podcast is over. Geneva's kicked out because she loves math and she's sick. No. Yeah, so I always joke with Geneva because like there's always these memes like, look at me, I went another day without using X and Y, like X and Y, you know what I mean?
Those hurt my heart.
So before we wrap up, now's the time to plug anything and everything you like. Where can people find you and your shop? You want to give the location, you want to plug your Instagram handle, website, whatever. Now's the time to do that.
Perfect. Yeah. Come visit me at 421 Schatzel, downtown. It is just a block away from everything that you are already going to. So come pop in, say hi. I honestly, as the only employee, just like when people come in because it gives me someone to talk to. And I promise that like I think it's just a cool space that it's like cool to be in. And then on you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and basically everything at Commons CCTX. Yeah, and share like all the good things, I guess. I am not super big on big promoting, but I know I'm a store, so I have to.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on with us. Really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck with the shop, and hopefully
Thank
soon
you.
we can collaborate and figure something out, because I do have plenty of ideas. So hopefully we can figure something out offline. And yeah, that's it. Until next time, Corpus Christi, please make sure you head out and visit somewhere new and visit somewhere cool here in the city. There's plenty to do, and we'll talk next week. Have a great day.